Hello, everyone. How are we doing? Good, good. Great to see you all here. My name's Elizabeth Kennedy. It looks like they gave me an extra title. I wonder if that one will stick. But I am a Senior Customer Success Manager here at Telium, and I've been here for the past 3 years. And throughout that time, one of the most consistent challenges that I've seen with my customers, regardless of industry, is securing and sustaining cross-functional buy-in for data initiatives. Now, the folks on stage with me today have had real success navigating this time and time again. So we're going to run through introductions to start, then we're going to have a little chat and hear about how they've approached it in their organizations. So let's kick things off with you, Mark.
Sure. Hi, I am Mark Holland, Director, Customer Lifecycle and Loyalty at Floor & Decor. For us at Floor & Decor, we think of our customers in two main buckets. Pros who are in our stores every day, making a living installing our floors, and homeowners who do their projects and renovations with us. So I head up lifecycle marketing to communicate to them, email, app push, text message marketing, as well as audience segmentation, personalization. And new to my org is I'm helping to manage the marketing and communications of our Pro Loyalty program. Wink, wink, just between us in this room, currently improving that, making it better, and making it a better loyalty experience for all our pros. So look out for that coming soon.
Hi, my name is Marc-André Gauthier. I'm the CDP manager at BRP. We are OEM for power sport. We are behind iconic brand of vehicles such as Sea-Doo, Ski-Doo, and Can-Am. So my role there is to manage audiences and also manage customer data coming in and making sure that the data is actionable and could be used in different marketing channels.
And I'm Matt Deal. I'm the Director of Marketing Analytics at Constant Contact. Everyone might know us for email marketing and our little logo at the bottom of all the emails you get from all the small and medium-sized businesses and organizations that you may support in your local communities or across your children's sports teams. We're known for email, but we also do a broad digital marketing as a platform, as a SaaS platform.
You might say that you help people constantly stay in contact,
Absolutely.
Right? Yeah, I'm sure you've never heard that joke before. But to kick things off, we're going to start with talking about early alignment around these data initiatives, and specifically how you all communicated the why behind your initiatives and secured stakeholder buy-in across your different teams. So I'm going to start with Mark for this one. So how did you tailor this why of your initiatives for the different groups, like your marketing versus IT versus executive leadership? Tell us a little bit about how that went.
Yeah, so for me, the why doesn't change, but how I communicate it definitely does, depending on my audience. So for executives, they care about business impact. Will this drive incremental customers? Will this grow share of wallet? Will it build loyalty and retention? If I can't tie it to any of those three, I'm not going to get prioritized. For IT, e-commerce, it's a little bit different. They're juggling multiple priorities. I can't come to them with a big vision. I need to come to them with a next step. So I try to break my why down into something as small as possible, something bite-sized, snackable, that can fit into a sprint. So I try to show up with what's the next step here. For marketing analytics, for me, it's about better decisioning. How do we move from broad campaigns to precise, data-driven engagement? So again, my why doesn't change, but how I communicate it absolutely does, depending on the room I'm in. What lens am I going to use for who I'm talking to?
Yeah, absolutely. That makes sense. And Marc-André, how about you?
The why to use a CDP within BRP was really one simple reason. It was because the data was scattered across different teams. So of course we had the IT that was overseeing the data warehouse and where to share that data. But we had other like marketing teams working on 5 major vehicle brands, and they were all having their different agenda on how to activate that. So what happened is BRP moved towards Telium to trust them as a CDP. And at that moment, my role was really to make the bridge between all those teams and IT to make sure that we are moving towards one direction. So unified customer was really a key to make sure that we are talking to the same customer, even if we are talking about different brands, different channels. So that was really the why behind this.
Yeah. So in one case, we're adjusting the lens depending on the individual specific needs, and we're also staying connected to the wider why of the organization, your KPIs, your ultimate goal, and what you're driving to. So that's great. And Matt, any other thoughts there from you?
I mean, I'm in a unique place because Constant Contact's been a Telium customer for 13 years. So, yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
I've been with the company for 5, so Telium was already there when I showed up. So making the pitch for getting Telium installed, somebody else's problem a long time ago.
Sure.
So, I mean, the challenge that I'm more faced with is making sure that we're constantly, keep saying constantly.
Yeah, I know. Every time
it's
we're
gonna,
going to
it's
think
gonna
about
happen
that
a
word.
lot. That we're continually bringing forward and making sure we have that alignment to business goals, making sure that those people across the organization that are trying to drive the strategy have the data they need to be able to measure and prove the value on a day-to-day basis, that what they're doing from a product perspective, from a sales perspective, customer support perspective, marketing perspective, is all going right against those big corporate goals of what we want to accomplish as a business year.
Totally, a similar story there. And I'm going to start this next question with you, Matt. So what was the hardest group to bring along when you first stepped into the room and you're working with Telium, you're adopting kind of a legacy implementation? Which of those groups was the hardest to bring along and why? And then how did you get there?
Okay, yeah, definitely.
Positive
So this might resonate with a few folks in the audience. You know, the group that we work with on a continual basis, because it's a constantly changing and evolving ecosystem, is our compliance, privacy, and legal teams from a data perspective.
Absolutely.
So that's your, if you think about data, that's your competitive advantage sitting right there. And those teams' job is to make sure that that stays our competitive advantage, making sure that we're not putting too much risk in the systems that we're building for our data to get out there for a competitive standpoint. And really the way to continually build that trust with those teams is take them through the tool. You know, they're constantly in their own tools, evaluating platforms. They're seeing probably more technology than what I'm seeing on a daily basis across these teams, because all of our teams are asking them, can we get more tools? Can our tools do these things? But taking them through the consent management, taking them through PII masking, taking them through roles that can be set up in Telium, and actually showing them the power of the platform builds a level of comfort with them that they're willing to start to pass those checks.
That's great. And of course, we're very happy to hear that on our side. Yeah. Marc-Andre, how about you?
For us, the main we had two, I would say, detractor of like the implementing the CDP solution. The first one was the IT architecture. Managing the data warehouse. Basically, their mindset was more about like building dashboard, building insights. So their stakeholders and who they report to was a bit different than someone like me that wants to manage the activation. So we had to convince them to move towards a CDP like Telium that could like set up connectors across different MarTech tools and be able to share those audiences. So that was really one of the main detractor. The second one was the global privacy. BRP is operating in worldwide in many countries with a different set of rules about privacy. And they were really thinking about how we could activate the customer data and be compliant on the different regions. So that was, I would say, the two groups that were a bit questioning why we will have a CDP.
Yeah, and how did you overcome that?
Yeah. Basically, it was just to present them how we could manage the consent upstream. So having the data warehouse, managing the different type of consent, and also convincing them our ops, our CDP ops will be applied to those different regions.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, privacy compliance, universal gatekeeper, right? But they're important.
Yeah.
Yeah. So has that been the same situation for you, Mark?
So I'm in a little bit of a unique position. So I actually just inherited ownership of Artelium back in December. So I'm still new here. I wasn't around for the implementation or any of those initial stages. I have a little bit of a cheat code in that we use an agency to help manage Artelium instance. GTX, to name drop them, with a big shout out to Jim, who is really the one I go to for everything. At Floor & Decor, we don't have an organizational-wide PMO, so I lean on Jim a lot. He has those connections, those historical connections with IT, e-com, data science, media. So he gets to kind of play that project management role for me, bring those people along for me, help communicate my visions, my ideas, my strategies into what's realistic, help me get to that next step like I was talking about earlier, help me pull those people along, and he really helps with that strategy, also the hands-on keys, so I get to lean on him a lot and use that cheat code.
Yeah, absolutely. It's always good to have that external help if you can, and that's awesome. Shout out to GTX out there. I heard a woo. Maybe someone's in the audience. So building on that, bringing these different groups along is often where things get the hardest if we're looking at these organizational silos, especially in larger organizations where you might not always interact with your colleagues. You might not even know who they are. So Marc-Andre, as you navigated this, were there any early missteps that created some friction? And how did you recover and then redirect?
Yeah, so the adoption of Tilium as a CDP was really during a period of time that we were migrating the data warehouse. So at the beginning, we had a good relationship with the people there, setting up connections, setting the data sources and making sure that the mapping was right and everything was well organized there. But then another team they move on to another vendor of the data warehouse. And from there, the relationship started to be a bit more distant. We didn't have more visibility on the maintenance of our customer database. So sometimes we had re-importation of the whole customer database coming into Tilium. So that was a really problematic time. We had to work with them along the way and really make them understand what is important and why we need the most clean data possible. And now I'm proud to say that it's overcome and
that's wonderful. I think that deserves a round of applause, right? At least a little one. Thank you. Yes, that's quite the feat. Matt, anything from your side? Any early missteps you can think of that created some friction?
Yeah, I think at this point where we are with the Tilium platform is, just working with our counterparts across our front-of-site engineering, our data engineering teams, and making them aware of the power of the tool that we have at our hands, and that we're not potentially trying to just take work away from them.
Totally.
We're trying to make their jobs easier by implementing through Tilium and feeding the data pipelines and tagging and tracking in a way that's scalable, that doesn't require a front-of-site engineer to go into the site code and tag all these buttons or add code to the site necessarily manually in the core code base. That becomes tech debt in the future. So that way they can see what the Tilium IQ platform does from us from a tag management and data layer perspective, and then what our data engineering team can see through all the data connectors that we can build out of the server-side technologies.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm hearing this recurring theme of meeting folks where they're at, making sure that we're staying connected to both their individual goals and the larger organizational goals. And I think we'll probably continue hearing answers to that effect. Mark, anything different from your side?
Yeah.
Any kind of early missteps?
So Floor & Decor implemented Tilium, I think, back in 2018, which is before my time there. I think we started as more of just a tag management situation.
Sure.
And it wasn't really until around 2022 when we really had a transformation and really took ownership and strategy of Tilium. So I would say, don't try to be perfect. Work with what you have. Small steps, show progression. If you don't have that full strategy in place yet, that's fine. You can get there. Don't wait for something to be perfect. If you're just sitting on it for tag management, use that to the best of your ability until you are ready for that transformation. Don't let perfection get in the way of good or good enough.
Absolutely. Great advice. And so as AI starts to become a bigger part of the conversations across all of our organizations, how has that shifted stakeholder discussions? I'm going to start with you, Matt, and how do you position Telium within that ecosystem?
Yeah, isn't that what we're here to talk about?
That's why we're here, yes,
Yeah,
sir.
Right? So, Constant Contact, we're a very AI-forward company and striving, and it's top of mind for everybody, both in the way we work and how we bring AI to our customers in the same way that Telium's doing it, right? Building it into the platform to make our small and medium businesses, quicker at the marketing that they do. So where Telium sits for us in the way that we work, that data that we're collecting and organizing through Telium gets sent off to our data warehouse, Snowflake, shout out to them, they're here too. That opens it up to our data scientists, our decision scientists. They ingest that into their machine learning models that we use for scoring, trialer scoring, estimated lifetime value scoring, customer scoring, and then that makes its way into the data sets, the base data sets across the dimensionality. And then from that data set, we can build our AI on top of that, and in interesting ways that, we have a Slack AI tool, chatbot, that you can engage with our core marketing data, and there's an on-demand analyst sitting in Slack waiting for you every morning, every day, every hour for you to ask it a question. While I might be sleeping here in the US, our Australian team could ask questions of the Slack bot about what's going on in the Australian market and how they're doing.
Yeah, totally. It's a kind of recurring theme in some of these sessions we've heard too, that democratization of data, the word I will forever struggle with. But yes, that's awesome. Another thing we can bring forward to assist our colleagues and help them push toward that same goal. So Marc-Andre, as AI becomes a part of the conversation at BRP, how's that shifting your discussions?
Yeah, right now there's a lot of work around AI, but I will say on the other department than marketing. For BRP, I really want to position our CDP to be ready to give clean customer data and really impactful data that has context to be able to feed whatever models that they are building internally. So for now, this is not something that is deployed as large at the organization, but it's something that is on the roadmap, definitely.
Absolutely. Mark, anything from your side you want to add?
Yeah, I would just add that we're I think us and a lot of people are still in our infancy of determining, how we want to use AI and how can we leverage these tools to help us. We're using things for finding lookalikes, next best customer, propensity to buy, helping with our decision making. So we're probably, I think I said to you yesterday, I think every company is having the same exact conversations right now. Like if we could all just get on one giant Zoom together, we could probably solve a lot of these problems a lot faster. But yeah, so we're still building out our AI Center of Excellence, determining what that means for us and when. But in terms of a personal level, my boss has tasked us with find the most annoying part of your job and see if AI can just relieve that pressure for you. Start small, start there, small wins as we push the entire business forward together.
Totally, and solving your colleagues' problems, certainly another way to get buy-in, right? Awesome, so there is that initial buy-in, and then there's sustaining it over time, and we've just started touching on that as things evolve. Now we have AI in the picture. So with our last few minutes here, we're going to talk about how you've kept this cross-functional collaboration going. So Mark, I'm going to start with you this time. Was there a point where momentum slowed, and if so, what did you do to re-engage the organization?
Yeah, so my father was an executive recruiter, and he used to always say to me, time kills all deals.
Wise man.
And now in my career, I find myself saying that too as well. At the start of a project, there's always a lot of excitement around it. But especially in retail, things change fast, and something new or urgent is always coming up. And so it's on me often to help carry that momentum forward. And that could mean regularly bringing the conversation back around to business impact, showing clear, small, decisive wins along the way. Sometimes it's just about getting the right people back in the room together, hit the reset button. Because you can't wait for a project to launch to show progress. You have to find ways to keep the organization engaged along the way. Because if you wait too long, you might have lost your momentum. And if you do, it's very hard to get it back, and you might have lost your window entirely.
Yeah, totally. So breaking it down and like, what's that next step we can accomplish? What's that next milestone we can get to? That makes a lot of sense. Marc-Andre, how about you?
So the key, I think, is really to be adaptable in the situation. So on our case, we have, like I mentioned, 5 different marketing teams for 5 different brands. So what happened is that some of those teams are activating through emails, activating through SMS, and other on the social media part. So when we had our issues with the data warehouse, what I had to do is to adapt a little bit our audiences and make sure we can serve a subset of these brands' marketing teams and be able to give them really good audiences about web browsing, interaction with the app, and so on. So we were able to give them what they wanted, and other part of these marketing teams also were kind of lagging because of this problem with the data warehouse. So what we did is once we got this fixed, we came back to them and we pitch again the CDP like it was day one, basically. And then they see the value, and I re-engage them through that way. So that was the key there. It's
Absolutely.
just be adaptable and really understand who you're working with, and that's the key, honestly.
Absolutely. And Matt, how about you?
Yeah, build the larger network across
Right.
the organization. I consider myself a champion for the platform, so find those other champions within the organization. Across marketing, across sales, product, engineering, all the places that you'd want exposure for the platform, for the data, for the initiatives. So continue to drive that agenda, so that way. As if someone departs the organization,
Right.
hopefully they've been spreading the word within their teams about the work they're doing in Telium, and there's someone else to step right in and kind of backfill that role and be that champion for the platform in all the different areas in the business.
Yeah, that's a great point. And especially that sustaining these initiatives, it requires the right structure. And part of that is finding your champions across the organization. So Marc-Andre, I'll give you this question. What kinds of governance models have worked in practice?
So we have the subject matter experts. So let's say for us, it was my team that managed the CDP, are able to push audiences or push data in the different places and has in mind all the different activations should be done. For example, that the governance of privacy across different regions. So that is, I would say, the model of governance we have right now. But we also trust the team upstream that are sharing the data from the sources. For example, the tagging that is done through GTM that has to be queried and make sure that the data feeding Telium is making sense. At the same time, we are trusting also the governance of the data warehouse team. So it's a teamwork, I will say.
Yes, essentially, teamwork makes the dream work, right? That old adage holds true. Mark, how about you?
Yeah, I think for me, it comes down to aligning KPIs. If IT, e-commerce, marketing, data science, if we all have the same shared outcomes, the governance takes care of itself. You don't need a steering committee if everybody's rowing in the same direction.
Ure. Matt, what do you think?
I mean, well said, Mark, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think there's much I
Fair
can add on top of that, right?
Well, then we'll wrap it up here with one final question here to close us out. So for each of you, I'll start with you, Mark. What's one piece of advice that you give to someone who's currently working through this challenge of securing buy-in at their organization?
Yeah, I think I'll keep it simple. Data strategy doesn't create value on its own. Alignment, execution, and adoption do. Build those first.
Great. Marc-Andre?
Yeah, on my side, I would say in the different stakeholders you have to share the customer data, find the early adopter, find the team that really wants to use that customer data. And for us, it was, let's say, the e-commerce team that are selling different parts and accessories to different vehicles. So this team was across all the brands, and they were able to showcase the use case that we were doing with the CDP and we had really great success during Black Friday. So once we had this success, they were like the good messenger and saying to every team and every brand that they were able to use also the CDP to get better result, basically.
So aligning to KPIs, finding your champions. What do you think, Matt? What do you want to add to that?
Yeah, raise that awareness and visibility of what Telium can do for your organization across the whole organization. Elizabeth and team were just in the office a few weeks ago, and we had a room packed with people who were, who were completely aware of what a CDP should be doing for the organization. They might not be Telium experts, or they might be brand new and wanted to learn more about this. That's the best case scenario from my perspective, is when people hear about something new that they don't know about and they want to learn and become better educated on, invite them into the room, invite them to learn something, because then they will go back to their teams, and when they are faced with a problem, they know where to go, who to reach out to within the organization. We had a great use case of that recently where we were making some changes to our login efforts, and the product team reached out and said, how can we solve this signal of, as a SaaS platform, a user logging in is a very strong signal. They just logged into the platform, especially for our trialers, and we're trying to convert them to customers. That's an incredibly strong signal for us to say they're active in the platform. Let's start sending in-product messaging, get sales to reach out, really catch them in that moment. By changing our login behavior, that signal was going to go down. So we immediately turned to Telium and said, what other signals are we working with on a consistent basis that we don't have to look at just the login, but what other activity is happening in the product that we can build this signal off of, get it sent to Salesforce, get our reps activated on it, so that way they can really be in that moment with our potential customers and make those deals.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, wonderful. Thank you all to the panelists here, and thank you all for attending the session. If the group has any follow-up questions, all three of them are going to be at the Activate and Celebrate party later, so we invite you to come say hello. And before we get off the stage, we're going to take a selfie with you all. Sound good?